Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the very blueprint of a culture. We're going to be exploring something called Filipinolohiya, basically the study of what it truly means to be Filipino and what makes this identity so unique. So let's start with the big question, right? What does it really mean to be Filipino? It's so much more than just a passport or a place on a map. It's about a shared history, a deep sense of family, faith, and this unique spirit that's been forged over hundreds of years. So what are the pieces that make up that identity? Well, to understand anything this complex, you've got to start at the very bottom with the foundation. And for the Filipino identity, that foundation is built on some incredibly powerful elements, starting with the very words people use to think and speak. And that brings us to this key concept, Filipinolohiya. Just think of it as the official field of study dedicated to understanding the entire Filipino experience. It's not just one thing, it's holistic, meaning it looks at the whole picture, the language, the stories, the history, the culture, all the things that make this identity so vibrant. Now, right at the heart of all this is language. And what's so fascinating is how it's more than just a way to talk. First, it's a channel. It's the pipeline that carries traditions and beliefs from one generation to the next. Second, it acts as a pillar for the whole national identity, a way to unite a country of thousands of islands. And third, it's the very foundation of education, the tool for sharing knowledge. And woven right into that language is this incredibly complex history. I mean, way before the Spanish ever arrived, Islam came in the 14th century, setting up powerful sultanates, especially in the south. Then, a couple hundred years later, Spanish colonization brought Christianity, which really took hold in Luzon and the Visayas. So what you get today is this amazing layered identity, a mix of indigenous roots with these powerful Islamic and Christian influences all blended together. Okay, so that's our foundation. Let's move up and see what's built on top of it. On that base of language and history stand the core pillars of Filipino society. These are the big ideas and institutions that really structure daily life. And you absolutely cannot talk about those pillars without starting with the family. This isn't just, a nice cultural idea. It is a constitutional principle. The 1987 Constitution literally calls the family the foundation of the nation. That one sentence just shows you how central family ties are to pretty much everything in the country. And within that family structure, women have always had this incredibly powerful role as the keepers of culture. Back in pre-colonial times, you had the Babylon, who were these respected spiritual leaders. That legacy of leadership just kept going, with revolutionaries like Gabriela Salong and advocates like Josefa Liemes Escoda. And today that influence is everywhere, with modern Filipinas shaping every single field you can think of. And this respect isn't just some vague memory from the past. It's been written into some really progressive laws. You've got the Magna Carta of Women, the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act, and the Safe Spaces Act, which protects people from harassment in public and online. All of these are designed to legally protect and empower women today. All right, the next pillar is the youth. They're actually recognized in the Constitution for their vital role in nation building. They're seen as the ones who inherit all these traditions, but they're also the agents of change, right? They're the ones tasked with figuring out how to carry this culture forward in a world that's changing so fast with technology. So we have our foundation and we have our pillars. Now let's get to the really fun stuff. How does all of this actually get expressed? We're talking about the vibrant, colorful, and super communal ways that Filipino identity really comes to life. A crucial battleground for how a culture expresses itself has always been the classroom. This slide shows this kind of tug of war. On one side, you've got nationalist education, which is all about focusing on local history and Filipino languages to build national pride. And on the other, there's the long shadow of colonial education, which centered on foreign languages and Western ideas. This tension is still shaping how Filipinos learn about themselves today. And maybe the most visible, most colorful expression of culture is the festival, the fiesta. These are so much more than just parties. The Kamalan Festival, for example, honors indigenous traditions. Davos Kadiawan is all about giving thanks for the harvest. And Cebu's Sinulog is just this massive, incredible display of faith. They are literally culture coming alive. This spirit of community you see in the festivals is perfectly captured by this one word, bayanihan. It's the old tradition of communal work, the famous image of neighbors carrying a house together. But it points to a much deeper idea of helping each other out. And it's not just some old memory. You see it today in community pantries or online fundraisers. It's a kind of social glue that just keeps evolving. So this brings us to our final section. How does this deep-rooted identity actually work in the 21st century? How do these core values of community and resourcefulness adapt to a world that's more connected than ever? Take a look at this number, 15.68 million. That's how many Filipinos were working in the informal sector a few years back. Now, that's not just a statistic. It is a massive testament to the Filipino value of diskarte, that unique mix of resourcefulness, creativity, and just plain grit to make a living and get things done. And that exact same drive is embodied by the millions of overseas Filipino workers, the OFWs. Often because of a lack of opportunity at home, they've become this incredible global workforce. Their sacrifices have earned them the title Bagan Bayani, or the New Heroes, a name that really honors their huge economic help, but also kind of papers over the huge personal cost of being so far away from family. And all of this leaves us with one last really crucial question. The Filipino identity has always been a mix of local and foreign, old and new. But with globalization and social media speeding everything up, the challenge, and really the opportunity, for the next generation is to decide, what do we keep? What do we adapt? And how do we keep writing the story of what it means to be Filipino?